Welcome, everyone. My name is Okan Ekinci. I represent Roche Information Solutions based in the San Francisco Bay Area. I'm going to talk today about personalized healthcare meeting care virtualization in the context of COVID-19. As you're all aware, we're still in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic with more than 150 million confirmed cases and more than 3 million deaths. And the paradigms of precision medicine have suddenly become the content of our news every day. Back in March 2019, when the pandemic started, we established a task force across our two divisions, Diagnostics and Pharma, to define how we could best support the healthcare community and ultimately patients and individuals with digital solutions. Well, let me first introduce Roche to you. Roche is the world's largest biotech company. We provide differentiated medicines in oncology, immunology, infectious diseases, ophthalmology, and diseases of the central nervous system. Roche is also the world leader in vitro diagnostics and tissue-based cancer diagnostics, as well as a frontrunner in diabetes management. Our group headquarters is in Switzerland. Roche is active in over 100 countries and employs more than 100,000 people worldwide. The digital portfolio of Roche Diagnostics has a strong focus on clinical and research decision support for healthcare providers and patients. We introduced numerous cloud-based solutions, predominantly in the field of oncology and ophthalmology, on our Navify platform that is hosted on AWS. Our digital tools enable our customers and users to deliver or experience more personalized healthcare. When the pandemic started in China and later in Italy last year, it showed its drastic impact on patients and healthcare providers immediately. On one side, there weren't enough beds, let alone ICU beds, for critically ill COVID patients, and on the other side, lockdowns forced patients and healthcare providers to delay elective and regular care. We know today that the direct and indirect impact of COVID-19 on patients with other diseases is very high. In cases like chronic obstructive lung disease, coronary artery disease, and heart failure, the COVID-19 morbidity and mortality is significantly higher. In cancer patients, on the other hand, the delays in diagnosis, treatment, or follow-up take their toll. Every week of treatment delay in cancer care, in fact, can increase mortality by up to 3 percentage points. Hence, clinical agility, that is, the ability to transform care delivery, became a sudden necessity to ensure care continuity. Overall, this situation created an immediate and large demand for virtual care tools and services, and it seems these solutions might sustainably replace or augment key components of care and chronic care. Data from around the world has meanwhile shown the massive acceleration of care virtualization, and there are good reasons to believe that care virtualization is here to stay. On one side, there are the drivers. For instance, there is evidence on positive user experience with the adoption of telehealth technology and services forced by the pandemic. There's early evidence of efficacy and efficiency of virtual care solutions. The policy, regulatory, and reimbursement barriers have been reduced for remote care, and we see significant increase in medical-grade remote monitoring devices, software, and improved connectivity all around. And there is more funding support for virtual care ecosystems. But what value do we expect from care virtualization and value beyond monetization? Well, it enables deeper patient engagement and care centricity. It supports effective care coordination across expanded care settings. It provides the opportunity to collect patient-reported outcomes and information and wearable data. It leads to a patient-centric care redesign in line with the value-based care model, and it enables effective chronic disease management and decentralized trials. Last but not least, it provides the opportunity to leverage advanced analytics and algorithms to deliver data-driven proactive care. There are, of course, challenges too: regulatory compliance, data privacy, and security, topics around interoperability and data fluidity, the complexity of care coordination across care settings, patient and clinician adoption issues, and the topic around global scaling. On the other side, there are opportunities. Virtualization of care will make care more accessible and patient-centric. The promise of data and insights-driven medicine can be realized to some extent. There is a clear potential to lower cost with same or better outcome. There's a chance to redesign care delivery and to leverage cloud-based solutions. So back in February last year, we reviewed our assets and asked ourselves how we could support and decided to focus on three areas. Use our digital tools and products to support care continuity in the hospital. Second, support care coordination of COVID-19 and at-risk patients. And third, given our strength in data science, support insight generation for policymakers with advanced analytics. Multiple agile teams were formed out of our existing organization to ideate and execute. On support care continuity in the hospital, our focus was on-market solutions and how they could be leveraged. Our core product in oncology, Navify Tumor Board, was the prime candidate for that. Navify Tumor Board is a cloud-based workflow product that securely integrates and displays cancer patient data into a single patient dashboard. Ideally, it is integrated to the EMR. Tumor board meetings are the key meetings in oncology where usually the diagnosis and treatment of cancer patients are decided by a multidisciplinary team of clinicians and other staff. The solution was a key enabler during the lockdown as it allowed the fully remote planning and execution of the meetings from home with the usual speed, data safety, and security. This way, care continuity was provided for a lot of patients and delay was prevented that could have impacted patient outcome. To facilitate the adoption of the tool, we facilitated a large marketing campaign on virtualization of care and enabled our sales teams to approach institutions and care teams with the necessary knowledge. Soon, a customer of ours in Italy, Dr. Paul Mercantini, published a brief paper in the European Journal of Surgical Oncology on the importance of care continuity by use of cloud-based software solutions like ours. It took his institution less than 2 weeks to establish the new ways of working, and with that proved also the clinical agility at his institution. As a software provider in the healthcare space, we realized how important it is not only to have the right tools, but also the right mindset and transformation capabilities at the institution to truly exploit the value of such solutions. To facilitate the wider adoption of the tool, we generated a large marketing campaign on virtualization of care and enabled our sales teams to approach institutions and care teams with the necessary knowledge, evidence, and testimonials. As part of that, another customer of ours, Dr. Adam Dicker from Jefferson University Hospitals in Philadelphia, mentioned how the transition to a virtual tumor board not only allowed care continuity, but also increased participation of clinicians in the tumor board through increased accessibility of the meeting. Even in the broader field of virtualization of care, we see accessibility being mentioned consistently as a benefit for care teams and patients, and therefore as one of the reasons for a more sustainable presence of these tools in the future. While the first area was about leveraging existing tools, the second area, supporting care coordination for COVID-19 at-risk patients, required some thinking around the use cases. While we wanted to address the care coordination in the first place to reduce or balance the workload in the hospital by better triaging COVID-19 patients, there were also likely scenarios on the horizon that we could consider as well, for instance, that help remotely monitor patients with underlying comorbidities or around facilitation of virtual clinical trials. The other case was around return to work, where information on testing status, vitals, and symptoms could be used to minimize transmission risk at the workplace. All of those scenarios had their technical requirements that you see on this picture here towards platform, sensor and data integration capabilities, user experience design, and data flow and analytics. We decided to start with the Symptom Tracker, a secure cloud-based decision support solution that enabled the healthcare provider to maintain standard of care and ensured continuity of care in an institution. How did it do it? Well, through triaging and identification of positive yet low-risk patients during the medical visit. Those patients would be sent home despite positivity and mild to moderate symptoms, and hence would not occupy hospital beds desperately needed for more critically ill patients. Since the trajectory of the disease was not known back then, and sudden deteriorations of patient conditions were reported, the tool was supposed to allow the patients to track symptoms through a mobile app-based questionnaire that incorporated the CDC guidelines and an acuity assessment. The healthcare institutions were able to track the patient data remotely through a cloud-based portal, and hence would see how the risk and acuity status of their patients would look like. By the way, we developed Navify Symptom Tracker in an agile fashion in record time of less than 8 weeks. For that, we leveraged another cloud-based solution of ours that we had developed and were testing, Floodlight MS, our symptom tracker app for patients with multiple sclerosis. While Navify Symptom Tracker was introduced, we received more input from our field teams. There were 3 topics that stood out. 1, there was an increasing need to integrate sensors and sensor-based data into the tool and its algorithm, for instance, to validate temperature assessment or have objective correlates for other symptoms or vital parameters such as coughing or heart rate, as well as oxygen saturation. 2, Next to patients, some institutions propose to use the tool for frontline healthcare workers to replace daily manual testing at the entrance of the hospital and become more sensitive towards early symptoms of COVID-19. The aim was to reduce transmission to and from healthcare workers. Third, the use case started involving also the symptom tracking of healthy individuals beyond healthcare workers, while return to school and return to work scenarios started to be discussed immediately after the first wave. Based on these different use cases, we expanded the functionality range of the tool. Among others, we integrated a medical-grade vital parameter and symptom sensor and introduced the configurability of the algorithm to make sure local guidelines for different use cases could be adopted. Under enforcement discretion of the FDA, we launched the tool in the US market under the name Navify Remote Monitor. Navify Remote Monitor consists on one side of an enhanced dashboard that allows use case specific access management to be compliant with different regulations related to data security and especially privacy. On the other side, we have a patient mobile app that can be linked with a biosensor to collect a range of parameters that can be processed together with the collected symptom data and testing information in a guideline-based configurable algorithm. The algorithm ultimately assesses the personalized risk of the person to have contracted the disease and suggests actions on the basis of the acuity or risk. The last evolutionary step for the tool portfolio around care coordination in the broadest sense was the development and introduction of a tool that connects COVID-19 test results with recipients remotely. With the increasing role of different COVID-19 related tests, currently the availability of a verified negative test result for a particular individual becomes the passport for a lot of access related topics from travel, work, all the way through entertainment. We joined multiple initiatives to make sure that we're both up to date and in line with interoperability standards that solutions like this will need to fulfill for broader adoption. We introduced Navify Pass recently. Building on the same cloud-based Navify platform, we were able to utilize all services and microservices underneath to address multiple critical components with proven quality and reliability, especially when it comes to data security, safety, and privacy. Last but not least, our third area was about supporting insight generation for policymakers with advanced analytics. We wanted to leverage the expertise of our large data science team across the organization and ask them to come up with a meaningful contribution. They identified two main pain points back in March, April last year. First, the lack of real-world data-based insights to inform critical policymaking and planning for various COVID-19 pandemic phases, like containment, peak, return to work, at a regional level. Second, inaccuracy of individual prediction models and simulation approaches due to generalized assumptions and lack of region-specific data. To address those pain points, the team developed a cloud-based population-level analytics tool that can be used for research purposes and can inform policymakers on a country, state, or local country level about the current evolution of indicators related to the pandemic and sourcing in data from different sources and of different types. These were Roche's activities on the digital health side during the pandemic. As a leading healthcare company, we're of course doing all we can to support countries in minimizing the impact of COVID-19. To complete the picture, we have developed with our main businesses a growing number of diagnostic solutions that help to detect and diagnose the infection in patients, and we continue to identify, develop, and support potential therapies which can play a role in treating the disease. Finally, all these tools had different combinations of AWS services that enabled them. For Navify Symptom Tracker, Remote Monitor, and Navify Pass, the AWS services clustered on this slide were utilized for security and identity, streaming and application integration, compute and containers, databases, and storage purposes. The use of these services enabled us to provide scalable services, allowed us to introduce versatility in our toolset, and provided key components contributing to data privacy and security, adequate data storage, and enabled data analytics. I'd like to conclude my presentation with the summary slide here, and thank you for your attention.